Hey guys, welcome back to Just Another Biz Podcast. We're diving in today with our wonderful guest, Raphaëlle Granger, a fellow French Canadian from Montreal. I'm so excited to tell you about her and dive into this conversation. So without further ado, Raphaëlle Granger is an international wedding photographer based in Montreal, known for her deeply human, emotional, intelligent approach to documenting weddings. Blending documentary sensitivity with an elevated visual language, her work is rooted in presence, atmosphere, and the quiet moments that often go unnoticed but become unforgettable with time. Her photographs have been recognized internationally, including being named one of Rangefinder's 30 Rising Stars of Wedding Photography. She has photographed celebrations across Canada, Europe, the Middle East, and is known for creating imagery that feels both cinematic and deeply personal. Beyond photography itself, Raphaëlle has become increasingly recognized for her thoughtful perspective on curation, brand direction, and emotional storytelling within the wedding industry. Her work and education focus is helping photographers move beyond simply documenting what exists towards intentionally building portfolios and businesses that reflect the kind of work and life they truly want to create. That is exactly what we're talking about today, because she reached out to us by email a few weeks ago and was like, hey, I want to talk to you guys about how to really build your portfolio and curating your social media, your website, on how and attracting the right clients in that way. So I am so excited to have you on today, Raphaëlle. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, honestly. It will be such a good conversation.
It will.
Yeah, I feel like it's fun having people on who are like, I listen to your podcast. It makes Gabby and I feel like we're actually reaching people. So you're like one of the people in Canada that shows up in our statistics.
That's amazing. Yeah. You're doing such a good job with that podcast, by the way.
Thank you. So yeah, let's dive into the topic a little bit more and kind of the myth itself of like, what does just I need bigger budgets actually sound like in real life? And why is it such a convincing story to tell yourself?
Yeah, I think for like the most of us, when we say, I just need a bigger budget, like bigger budgets, it sounds like we are being patient and we are being very strategic and responsible. Like, I'm being strategic. I'm waiting until I have the right material to work with. But what it actually sounds like, or what we're actually doing, is outsourcing our growth to our clients. You're essentially saying, well, I can build my career until someone else gives me permission to do it. And that is a very comfortable place to stay stuck, because it's easy. It's so easy. And I did a version of this too, myself, not with budget specifically, but I built an entire brand around something I thought would fulfill me, because the ingredients look right. It was like adventure, freedom, stunning landscapes. And for a while, that story was very convincing, even for me. It was.
And so when you say, basically you have this vision of what you want, and we all have this. We have this vision of what we think the luxury, bigger budget weddings are going to be, and what, in the photography sense, what you want to photograph. And when we're talking about it on a curation level, are you saying that a lot of people are scared to put their current work out there because it's not the luxury level that they want to attract? And if so, how do they work their way to get there? It's like this chicken or the egg, right? You can't get luxury until you show luxury, but then again, you can't show luxury because you don't have luxury.
It is so hard. Like, it's exactly that chicken or egg situation. And it is so hard to just get yourself out of this zone and actually start doing the work, because it's really just you already have something to show up. You just have to be ruthless with your curation and start being very selective. Stop showing everything. Like, when I started, I thought I needed this massive portfolio. I thought I needed to show every single part of the wedding day in my portfolio, because I'm able to do that, so I need to show it, right? But you're hurting yourself so much. It's like 30 images, really well curated, really, really well chosen, are stronger than 200 photos of anything and everything, really. So if you want to hit bigger budget, you just have to be ruthless with your curation. Just scale down.
And you mean like, where are these showing up? 30 images on your website?
Yeah, well, it could be 30, it could be a little bit more, but I think if you do, like, for example, feature galleries, I have a lot of feature galleries on my website, and those are, of course, I think it's maybe like 60 to 80 images per gallery, but of course I delivered so many more to the client.
Right.
It's just, it's not worth showing so much more images. 60 are more than enough for an external viewer to be able to grasp the whole wedding. You don't need more. In adding more, you're just like, I would have diluted my own work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like pulling the best of the best, because I think, there's so many beautiful parts of the wedding day, and that might be special to the client, but it might not translate best for like potential clients to see. Or like you said, it's not like your best work. It might not have a great background, or, but it's like, it's something important to the client of like maybe, during the ceremony or whatever. But I think it's important to pull those pieces that are like stunning imagery or like composition or details, how it was styled. And I think that is just, it translates better to the potential clients looking at your galleries.
Yeah, absolutely. Like something I love to ask myself or ask my mentees or anything really, like anyone really who wants help with curation, is whether the image needs a backstory to justify itself or not. Like that's a very simple question to ask yourself. If it needs the backstory, if you need to explain to an external viewer what was happening in that moment, or why this moment is meaningful, well, it does belong in your client gallery, but it doesn't in your portfolio or in your marketing material.
There's a photo on your website I was looking at earlier. It's like a red dress, and it's like, it's literally just like this red dress, her feet, and then the bride's dress, but it's like such a stunning like image contrast, and like you don't really need a backstory. You're kind of like, oh, that might be like the best friend. And it's like this moment of them together on the dance floor. And I feel like that's a great example of like a stunning image to showcase, because it tells a deeper story without you having to tell it yourself.
Yeah, that's actually a very good example. And I think this photo could have belonged to any type of wedding. Really, it's just guest fashion and like the bottom of the dress, so you don't really even see the wedding gown. It could have been like a mid market, but like wedding could have been low entry budget. Like we have no clue.
That's true.
So just have to, I think people just need to find those images in order to build their portfolio to attract maybe like bigger budgets, but they have everything they need right now.
I think was something that I've noticed over the years because obviously we'll get a gallery and we'll go through and we'll remember the couple and we'll like, oh, that was such a cute moment when they were holding hands. But on the outside looking in, our next clients don't necessarily want a picture of our past clients holding hands. That's no value to them. They want, like when we're talking luxury, I think we're talking about like detail shots, very specific details. It doesn't have to be that the details are expensive. It doesn't have to be that we're just taking photos of Waterford, crystal glasses. It's like the red dress you're talking about. There's something very editorial about that. Mm-hmm. Whereas I used to showcase on my grid on Instagram a lot of couple photos, but that's not what the next client wants to see. Maybe one or two here and there, and especially more emotional couple photos, like they're having a lot of fun or there's crying, in the audience or something like that. But I have learned over the years that the elevated, the bigger budgets, we'll call them bigger budget weddings, one to see the details, one to see the emotions, and one more feeling when they're looking at photos. And I think that's what you're saying too, is that storytelling is coming out through that, not through just a list of couple photos.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Well, at least with my couples, they are very emotion driven. They are very experience driven as well. They're putting a lot of effort, investing a lot of time and everything into creating these. I do multi-days events mostly. So this like wedding weekend, they want it to be memorable for everyone. So if the photos are able to translate this overall ambience and feelings more than just pretty couple portraits, that's what they are really looking for. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, what would you say is the difference between a photo that's good and a photo that's right for your brand? And how do you kind of know which is which?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on that briefly. I think a good photo is one that you're proud of. That's it. Like, it could be technically right. It could be like really wrong from the technical point of view. But if you're proud of it, that's a good photo. But a right photo would be a photo that does a job. And that job is not to impress other photographers or to impress anyone. Shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that. It's a right photo needs to filter. It's a filter because every image that you're putting out, whether it's on your website or in your Instagram grid or on your TikTok, is sending a signal to the person looking at it, whether you intended that signal or not. So you really have to be like very mindful of what you're trying to attract. So what you're putting out there is what will come your way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like keeping in mind who you're trying to impress, I guess, at the end of the day, not the other vendors, because they're not the ones paying your bills.
You know what, Kari? Like, this is interesting because I will say that when I post, I do think about what are my peers going to like this photo, and it's just the nature of social media and the comparison. Like I think we do it without really knowing we're doing it. We're not doing it on purpose, and obviously we want to post so that, like, will my future couple want this? But also simultaneously, I get really excited if I get positive comments from fellow planners and designers that I admire. You know, like, I hate to say it, it's the nature of social media.
No, that's true, for sure. I think a lot of times in my head, I'm like, is that fork crooked? And is someone going to comment on it? It's like the little like details that really stick with me on like, should I post this photo?
Oh my God, absolutely. Like, social medias are a blessing and a curse altogether. It's so hard to just post for ourselves and like trying to make exception of everything else, but at the same time, we really need to find our own voices. And if we're trying to put, like, let's say there's a beautiful like amazing floral arch there that I know it will like appeal to all of my peers, it will impress them, but it's not something that resonates with my brand. Should I post it or not? It's always so hard. Like, even for me, I sometimes
is it because, so let's say that example, you wouldn't necessarily post that because it doesn't resonate with your brand? Is it because what resonates with your brand is more of the emotional part as opposed, but like, see, I would think about that photo. I'm like, ooh, that's a great detail shot, because if there's a lot of flowers, that's expensive. Mm-hmm. If there's a wide shot of the room showing the venue, I think that's a really great photo to post for potential couples. But I'm curious your thought process. Walk us through that a little bit. What does that look like? Why wouldn't you post it?
Okay, it's not that I wouldn't post it, but I probably wouldn't post the obvious version of it. So, like, of course, for planners and for florists and for everyone, we're taking the proper, like, everything shot, like very clear, neat. But I wouldn't post it because my brand is really based on human connections and my values. So I would probably pick a photo where we can see still the arch, but maybe not as well as like for like the vendor photo, but where we could see like guests. or
Okay.
even if they're small or just like someone, I want human presence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like it needs to be aligned with your brand basically. So it's like different for everyone.
And for you, how did you kind of figure out what is in alignment for your brand? Like, did you sit down to think of like core values or just like who your clients are, who you want your potential clients to be? Because I think that's maybe where people struggle. They don't know sometimes like their brand voice or what is going to attract their ideal client. So how did you figure out that process for yourself?
It was a very long process. Honestly, it was a very long process involving like 2 full rebrands. Because I started and I was shooting anything and everything. So like mostly weddings, but any kind of wedding. And then I did a first rebrand where it was in 2019, and I was targeting intimate weddings and adventure elopements. And because I thought that was very aligned with me, who I was on a personal level. I do love outdoor. I love hiking. I love everything about that. And so I did that, of course, pandemic. So my first full elopement season was 4 years after that. So in 2022. And it was incredible. Everything I had dreamed for. And I had like big hopes for that brand, and I was very happy about how things were going, but I wasn't creatively fulfilled. At the time, I thought it was something like, you're a business owner, you're hustling, you're doing all the things. So you have to, like, your creativity, of course, has to take a hit. But my season ended up on a traditional wedding because COVID, report. And it was the biggest I had ever done, like a big, loud, chaotic Greek Italian traditional wedding. and the groom fainted at the altar.
Oh my gosh.
It was like everything. So it was a lot. And like within seconds, as you can imagine, like Greek and Italian aunts and grandmothers were just like surrounding him. Like one was trying to lift his feet up, one was trying to like make him drink soda,
and the guys passed out.
Yeah, like one was just begging anyone to call an ambulance. By the way, he was fine. Like he was dancing and doing shots at 2 a.m. the same night. So it was like he recovered well. Yes, it was very fine. But it was in that moment, it was like pure beautiful chaos. And I remember that I thought, like, I was just standing there on the altar watching everything like happening with all this Christmas, and I thought, like, this is it. That's what I've been missing with elopements. And like circling like back to like even when I was younger, I wanted to be a war photographer, and that's why I like ended up in photo school. I think I was like drawn to the humanity, the adrenaline, the real life unfolding so fast in front of your eyes. But obviously I never ended up on the battlefield.
I mean,
but,
kind of.
Yeah. And I think like that moment where the groom fainted, like, and seeing everyone just like, it was kind of a click moment where I realized that I've been chasing this like joyful, weird, loving chaos my entire career. So I reflected back on the business that I've built. So elopements, of course, they're beautiful. I think they have their place, but there are 6 hours where you're there shooting the same 2 people in a very quiet landscape. There's no chaos. There's no crowd. And yeah, I just like reflecting about that incident, that specific wedding, and the brand I've built, I realized that I've been building a brand around something that I loved in my personal life, but I ignored what I loved as a photographer. And those are not the same thing. So yeah, I mean, that was the wake-up call.
Yeah, I think for like anyone listening, it's like kind of figuring out which part of the wedding days or aspects of the wedding days that like light you up and you thrive in, and then catering your business towards that and like finding those clients.
And you don't have to know right away. I think that's the thing, right? We go into these industries and these careers, and especially when you are starting your own business, you're like, okay, what's my niche? What's my niche? What am I going to do? What makes me different? You might not know at the beginning. You might specialize in something and realize down the road, oh, I like this one specific part of all of that. How can I get more of that? And I think that's what you're saying too, Rafael, that like, show that in your grid however you can. And sometimes that's really a challenge because we're talking about still images, still moments in time, when in reality what we want is probably more of a feeling, an emotion, or there's something else that's almost intangible that we are trying to capture in a single photo. Like, that is a big marketing challenge.
It is so hard.
Because I think about like, we know the story behind the photo, but I'm like, does it translate well to somebody else looking at it or interpreting the photo?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so hard.
yeah. What do they see in it? That's true, Kari. Huh.
I think you really have to like just train your eye to see and just take risks. And it's yeah, it's okay. Like if you try things and it doesn't work out in the end, you just pivot and do something else and yeah, try something else.
And I guess like captions help for this too. Like I think that's why those exist, to explain a little bit more about what made this photo so interesting. Like if you, let's say you, in that moment of the groom passing out, if you had taken photos of some of the chaos and with their permission had posted about it, some people would see that photo at first being like, oh my God, this is terrible. What happened? But maybe the caption says, 30 minutes later, he was up and dancing and taking shots, but he was so overwhelmed with emotion in that moment that he passed out.
Yeah, I think like using caption in that way is very like, it's one of the most strategic things that you can do. It's also, it allows you to show a little bit of who you are, put your values up front as well, and just try to reach a little bit more your people.
Yeah. Sorry, pause really quick. Kari.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you we asked this question more or less, but I didn't know if we wanted to dive into that one a little more or if you were ready to do
I think we could do the next one. I feel like, yeah, we talked about that one.
And do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me see. Sorry. So tell us a little bit more about, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of us have clients that we adore, but like maybe the wedding aesthetic doesn't totally fit our brand. And I've had plenty of those where I'm like, they were amazing. They like paid my full packages, but like the design aspects didn't fully align with my brand. So I didn't post a lot and I like tried to pull photos out. But I think, what kind of advice do you have for people who, whether you're a photographer or a planner, whatever, and you're like, I loved that wedding, like it was still fun to shoot it, but the photos aren't totally in alignment, but you still want to like pull some from that gallery. How do you go about pulling those images to still showcase that wedding?
Yeah, I think it's very different whether you're a photographer or a planner. A planner, I mean, it's hard because you also have to work with all like the post-production and the editing style of everyone, trying to make something cohesive. So that's something like, that's a challenge in itself. But it's a little bit like the red dress. You don't know what design aspect, like what the design was of that wedding. And it was an amazing wedding. I've put it on my website, although some elements were not, like I will not showcase a lot of, like, especially ceremony, they were just standing in the middle of the atrium with everyone standing up as well. So
you can't see anything.
Yeah.
You cannot see anything. It's a little chaotic from an external point of view. It feels like, what are they doing? Is it a ceremony? It was like very simple. So no like prop, like big background, no arch, nothing. So it's very hard to distinguish, like, is this ceremony? Is it a cocktail hour? Is it speech? What's happening? So of course I will not use a lot of those, but the little details, like the red dress, helped a lot. Like, I think guest fashion guest fashion is a fun one. It's so fun. And then anything about, like, with light, so interesting shadows, beautiful light, that will very quickly catch the eye of an external viewer while scrolling on your Instagram. So I go for those first. And then after that, of course, like anything that can elevate. So big floral, lovely cake, like any little detail. And if you're a photographer, planner, it's hard because you have to ask permission. But if you're a photographer, nothing stops you from cropping. If you have a wider shot and you have, like, I don't know, like folding chairs, but you have one element that's very nice, just crop it. You can, like, it's for the web, so it really doesn't matter.
Even you mentioning kind of like for a planner, it is funny because, like, we're working with so many different photographers that have different editing styles, and sometimes it is hard getting a cohesive grid because somebody might have super dark and moody, and then the next person's like saturated and bright, and so sometimes it is harder curating a feed because you're like, these are all beautiful photos, but like when they're next to each other, sometimes it doesn't work out the best. But I think that's like another step for us where we have to curate even further to be like, maybe I'll post these photos before I post that one so it looks good next to each other on your feed.
Oh yeah, it's so hard. Like, a lot of my planner friends are saying that it is the hardest thing for them just to match the colors on the grid. And it's not because the photos are not beautiful. It's just like trying to piece them all together. But I honestly do like a color scheme. So let's say a lot of blue elements all together and then a lot of green elements, even if the editing is slightly different, it kind of create a cohesion. But yes.
Well, and obviously I'm looking at your grid as we're talking. It's stunning. Like, what a joy to be able to have access to all of these photos because you're the photographer. But okay, so here's a situation. Let's say, and like Kari said, we don't always have the choice over the photography that the client will hire. And that's something more and more that I'm like, if in my mind, and I'm saying this out loud, but if you want to work with me because you like what I'm showing in my portfolio, I'm going to need you to hire vendors that are associated with what I'm showing, because I'm not going to show the crap that some of the clients bring in because I don't want more of that. And I'm not going to show their janky photographer whose editing is inconsistent because I don't want more of that. So obviously if clients are hiring us for what they see on our grid, let's say, we're going to need them to hire similar things. So that's just an outward thought that I'm telling the world that I might start putting in my contract, that I'm going to need, like, I don't know if I say like final approval on your vendors, but I don't know, something. That's my first thought. My second thing is, what are your thoughts on, and has this happened to you, where a planner has brought in a details photographer? Not for you, it probably hasn't happened to you because your work is incredible. But unfortunately, we have experienced some times where we've planned a really incredible, large scale, expensive wedding that I know the details are going to be amazing. And the client I'm thinking about hired a photographer that was a friend of theirs that is a professional photographer, but not a wedding photographer. And I'm sorry, but that is a very different experience. And so the editing style to me was not what I would want to showcase on my portfolio. So I asked his permission, and he had no problem because, by the way, he was solo shooting this massive wedding. I don't even know why and how he did, but beyond the point. So I hired a second shooter almost for him, but she focused on detail shots. And there was no issue whatsoever. And I really only post her photos, which is a missed opportunity for him. I understand that. I don't think he cares because he doesn't do weddings. But anyway, thoughts on that scenario? And do you have maybe photographer friends or people that you mentor that have said the planner just keeps wanting to hire a details photographer? And do you tell them it's because you suck? Just kidding.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, that's such a hot topic, honestly. Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts, and my opinion on this kind of shifted towards like with my experiences and just with the time. Because I was hired once as a detail photographer. Ooh. And at the time, like a few years ago, and at the time I was like, oh, of course, I totally get it. And it was kind of a similar situation where the main photographer was working on a very tight timeline with a lot of transportation, and guests were entering the venue space before she could like even have a chance to get on set, because it was the reception and the venue were open space.
Okay.
And it was like a big event for the planner, and I was like, of course I will do it. You need it. She's solo shooting this wedding, so of course. And it was like everything was fine. Like the first photographer was not minding it anymore. But then I had 3 weddings with issues where the planning team, or one was the floral team, they hired a detail photographer for there.
And you were the lead photographer.
I was the lead. And at the time, like, again, it was a few years ago, and I just shot a wedding for that planner as a detail photographer. So I was like, okay, fine. Like, I don't mind you having someone. One of the wedding, I was actually just like hired a week before. So the floral team like made other arrangements knowing who the photographer was. And so fine, totally fine. But I had issues. Like, so the first wedding, the floral team hired this girl to shoot details. And it was the day of, everything was fine. Like, she stayed in her lane and everything. But after that, she posted photos on her socials, not saying anything about like the first photography team. And so she kind of presented this wedding as her own with no people, just details. But my client saw those photos, and like the bride.
Sorry, hold on.
Sorry, Kari's mic.
It's okay. I can't. It's like not giving any sort of feedback. So when you say that, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's only when it's like a
when
movement.
it's moving. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put it back on the stand.
Just because it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. Start just the sentence over.
Oh, I don't remember what it was. But yeah. Oh, the client saw the photo, and the bride messaged me and said like, "What's up? Like, who's this girl? Like, why is she posting photos of our wedding?" And I get it. Mm-hmm. She wasn't in the wrong there. Like, of course, no people were on the photos, but sometimes detail photographers also shoot people.
Yeah.
And no one never signed anything. Like, no contract was signed between the client and that photographer. Mm-hmm. So that was something. And similar things happened. Like, so I do a lot of destination work, and I had like 2 weddings overseas where I had no idea who that wedding like detail photographer was, and she was following us. She was hired by the planning team, and instead of sticking to photographing details, she was following us. And I had like my bag on my back, and we only had like 5 minutes to do couple portraits in the timeline, and she really wanted the shots. So she grabbed me by my backpack and pulled me out of the shot, and I was speechless. Like, that is no.
Oh my gosh. What did you do?
I was like, the planning team was very big, so we had like an assistant with us, and she tried multiple times to just like tell her to go and get out. She finally listened, but like that made us like lose so much time, and it wasn't great of an experience for the couple. They noticed this. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
don't.
couple, I'd be like, what is she doing? Who is this woman? I'd like, I didn't hire her. I also
Yeah.
feel like as if I hired a photographer, I want them also capturing photos of me working because I feel like that's something we lack a lot. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
the photographer is not there to capture us. Sometimes they get like a photo of us in the gallery, which is always really fun and like thoughtful. But like, that's the reason I would bring someone in to like capture us working an event and the details versus like anybody else at the wedding. But I feel like that's where they're greedy and they're like, oh, I can also get this for my portfolio, even though you weren't hired as that photographer.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I get that. Like, now I kind of change things. So I don't allow, well, I mean, I would probably allow for someone to bring a detail photographer if they stay in their lane, if I know who they are and I know that they're professionals. And that they will not share any photos. It's like the planner's property, not their property, the photos after. But now what I do when I know that we have like a big production coming and that will be a flagship for the planning team or the floral team, I do sit down and I have a very honest conversation about the needs of everyone, and I will just bring an extra shooter to fulfill those needs. So I know I have one big one in July, and I will bring an extra photographer just to follow the floral team because she wants photo of like her team setting everything up. And of course, I will bring someone. So that solves all the problems. All the problems.
Yeah, because it's someone on your team that you trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I think how I approach it now is I first go to the lead photographer. Again, I have to like the lead photographer. Like, I have to like the style of the lead. That's usually the issue, is I don't like the photographer they hired, but I will always ask for permission. And if they have an exclusivity clause, I can't necessarily go around that. So I'll maybe do instead a content creator, because those are not professional photos or something like that. But yeah, I really do like when the conversation is brought up to the lead photographer, if we do like their style, and say, hey, I need a lot more content and photos covered from this wedding because it's such a big portfolio for me that I will pay to have you bring another person for 4 hours extra, or, whatever it is. But yeah, and then that's nice for me because it's still under your team. You can manage that person. They have a point of contact and it's still you. Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to go around that is just to have an open conversation.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're all team members. We're all there to, like, of course, produce an amazing event for the couple, but also get what we need out of the wedding. So if it's a big production, of course, we need to provide photos and content to everyone on the team. And I mean, my colors are pretty neutral, so it never really happened to me that someone was like, oh, I have an issue with your editing. But I would rather have a planner come and say to me, like, I don't really vibe with what you're doing, and highlight that problem, because maybe I'm able to solve it in-house and like create something different in terms of editing for the planning team, and don't have to work with an external photographer that might challenge the overall experience. I would rather do that than have someone I don't know and I don't trust.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good point. Well, as we wrap this up, Raphael, I want to know what's something, maybe a well-curated portfolio, and this can be, like we said, it doesn't have to be a big budget wedding, but it's well curated. How does that work in our favor more than maybe one that's a big, bold, impressive gallery that someone doesn't yet have, but they're trying to work their way there?
Yeah, I think like the big portfolio communicates volumes, so it's good. Like, you have a good volume, it's great, but a curated portfolio will communicate something much more valuable, which is that you know exactly who you are. And I don't mean that, like, it's not a vague brand identity way. I mean, very specifically, if you have a well-curated portfolio, it will say for you, like, this is my area of expertise. Not wedding photography in general, not planning weddings in general. It's something far more precise than that. So, for example, for me, I like to think that it's taking the simple moments that nobody staged, nobody asked for, and making them feel like they are worthy of a novel or a movie. And not because like they're not dramatic moments, of course not, just because they're completely true. But it could be like this specificity is unique to everyone. So it could be like tented weddings by the water. That could be something like it's super specific.
It's true.
You have to communicate that, because from that comes trust. The trust doesn't come from seeing a lot of impressive images unrelated. The deeper trust comes from a potential client looking at your work and thinking, this person will find something about my wedding day, in my wedding day, that I will never have thought to look for, like, or thought about before, but I know I need them now. Like, I need it now. and that feeling and that recognition is what makes someone reach out to you. You're not chasing client. You're just like drawing them in because you show them precisely who you are for and like who you're not for as well.
Do you have one like major or I don't know, one piece of advice, I guess, that you would give people if they're like listening to this and they're like, okay, I really need to today or this week curate my portfolio to really attract my best clientele? What would be one thing that you would tell people to do?
Oh, one, that's so hard. Okay.
If whatever, yeah. If you have more than one, that's okay.
Circling back to what was said, like, does this photo needs a backstory? I think that's number one. But then just keep a third of your actual portfolio. If you've never done any curation work before, keep a third. Because usually we just show so much more than what we need, especially photographers, because it's our work. Like we are directly tied to every single photo, and it's our ego speaking and talking. But no, like they're not all award worthy. No matter how much we would love that, they're not. So a third.
So we're going to go through our Instagram grid today and start archiving.
Well, actually, apparently it's what Gen Z does. So it's good. It's good to archive things now.
Yeah.
Well, and what you were saying about the getting very, very niche in what you're offering and who you're targeting is very appropriate for Gen Z. They are looking for vendors that are so specific to them, and they personally want to get to know them. So we've had a lot of Gen Z conversations on here, but that's really interesting. One more thing that I wanted to mention back on the previous question. So, sometimes we get tagged as a collaborator on a post, and sometimes I don't want that on my grid. And or it's just irrelevant, whatever it is, right? Because the cover photo would have been relevant to whatever, like the DJ or something. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not fitting. So I saw recently that you can accept the collaboration, but you can hide it on the grid. And I know there are some people that are doing that because I've invited people to collaborate and I don't see it on their grid.
I've gotten rejected before.
Yeah, I got denied.
I did have a photographer reach out to me and she was like, I don't mean to be mean, but I just don't want more weddings at that specific location. And I was like, totally fine. I'm like, I just extended the collaboration, but yeah, she was curating her feed.
Yeah, like good for her. We all should do that. And it's great to do a collaborative post because so many of us are struggling to keep up with social media. So if you're doing a post already, just extend the invitation. It's just like you being a good human. and a team player. It's great. But then other people can select, like decide what they will share or accept or not. And I do it all the time. Like sometimes I will just not accept the invitation, or sometimes I will accept it and then hide it. Like remove it from my main grid, because otherwise it goes into like this secondary tab.
Oh yeah.
So it really depends what I want to shoot more of, what I want to attract, what I want to show. And it's never like not wanting to work with someone. It's never has to do with that. It's usually it's just like the photo curation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was such a good topic. I feel like this is really helpful for our listeners as we're especially like ramping up into wedding season. And it's like something I think is always on the back of people's minds of like how to keep a curated portfolio. And so I feel like this will be helpful for us just to like scale back and really find those photos that speak to our potential clientele. So can you tell us how people can find you online, Instagram, website?
Yeah, it's basically just Instagram and website, both at Raphaëlle Granger, and yeah, very simple.
Love it. Yeah, and definitely go check out her work, because I feel like if you need some inspo on how to curate your photos and tell a story, like your pages are perfect for that. So well, thank you for being on, and we loved having you. And Jabbers, we will be back next week with another episode, and we look forward to talking to you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.